I'm Bowswa, and as you can tell, this video is it's already different. Well, unless you're one of a select few that was around when I accidentally showed this, you've never seen my face. I kind of want to start, because this is not just a face reveal, it's a dialogue of sorts. So I want to start by saying that this script has been worked on since May 7th of 2023. Long before I hit 300 subs, but I was planning to do this video at some point, and I set the goal saying that I wanted to release this video today. My birthday. I'm recording this on February 6th, and I'm releasing it on February 8th, and I have a live stream later, around 8 p.m. Eastern Time to 12 p.m. Eastern Time for my 18th birthday. I have been fighting between different parts of myself for almost my whole life, so if you define things the way I currently do, it's my whole life. Most people don't know just by talking to me. They can tell something's a little different, but I am diagnosed on the autism spectrum. I have my own experiences, self-reflections, and I'm still figuring things out about myself. I want it all documented somewhere as I go through the process. Maybe a yearly log or something. I don't know. We'll see. And somewhere where someone can find it and hopefully feel less alone or unlock an understanding of how they work. The journey through your mind is very much an experience that is influenced by other people, but is only taken with yourself. For this video, I am Ben. I usually keep my online and private life as separate as I possibly can, but today is a break in that. Outside of this video and its comments, I will be raising and continuing to maintain the heavy barriers I've already had between my personal life and what I do online. In my videos and my live streams, I am Bowswa. In those comment sections, I am Bowswa. In SMPs, I am Bowswa. I will not respond to my name in those areas just because I want them separate. That being said, what is my life? There are many possible answers to this. It could have been the moment I was born. Could be the day I started talking, or at my first facial expressions, a few days after I was born. My grandfather could tell by one of my very young facial expressions, I think it was within a couple days of me being born, might have even been the same day, that I was somewhere on the spectrum. For me, the answer is a lot more complex than it first seems, and this can change throughout my life. Anything can. This is just my current perspective. This is not meant to be factual, it's philosophical, in a way. My earliest retained memory is from the age of 1 or 2. I don't remember which one it is. I don't have problems with the majority of my autistic traits at that age. I didn't even know what the spectrum was, didn't know how other people were. I was just a kid. Just a kid. And that kind of showed for up until I was 3, where my next memory is. I didn't have many problems. Like, you could look at me and, yeah, I had some of the traits of being autistic, but I didn't have a majority of them yet. My brain hadn't developed them. But I have many more memories between that point and the point where I fully gained consciousness. Again, my understanding can always change. That's just my understanding of what I've experienced for now. A large amount of quirks that you usually find with autism, I've found, at least in my personal experience, are the difference and interactions between the conscious and the subconscious mind. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I do have a very distinct memory of the first day that I feel I had full consciousness. I had just gotten over a double ear infection. Had those a lot as a kid, a lot of people do. And for those of you who had those, I know you just felt that pain and did not enjoy it. I woke up that day and suddenly I could hear this noise. At the time, my dad had an old printer with the paper that has those holes on the side of it that feeds it through. If you've seen one, you know the sound. But if you don't, if I can find a clip, here's one overlaid. I heard that in both my ears. Of course, I'd just gotten over an ear infection, still on the course of antibiotics. I went to my parents with this development, not realizing what it was. Once they figured out what it was, they assured me it was perfectly normal, but I was fairly sure I was under the age of 10, somewhere between 7 and 10. But I didn't realize what the sound was until I was 16. I created my YouTube channel before I was 16, just for reference on how quickly I figured things out, which was not at all. It was my heartbeat. You hear this sound every day, all day, 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years like this one, without break. If you didn't hear this sound, you wouldn't hear it all because your ears are literally dead. However, your subconscious mind, 9 times out of 10, will filter the sound out for you as a neurotypical person. You don't listen to it 24/7, 365. It's there, and your subconscious mind registers it and discards it. Not me. One of my symptoms of being on the spectrum is I am sensitive to most, if not all, sensual input. Sound, touch, sight, very possibly pain, maybe even taste. Though if I am sensitive to taste, I like overloading it in specific ways. Assuming that is all right, and that is the day I gained consciousness, then that is the answer to the question of when my life started. There's a very opinionated statement I can make based on that, but that's not the point of this video. Just, I don't know if it's too political or not. It's in the script here to say it, but I don't know if I want to yet. I'll probably save that for another video that is less real me, more my stance on improving the world and being the perfect version of yourself. But I could have stated that fact there, and that fact borders on a heavily debated and opinionated topic not meant for this video. It shows something else that I like to do, which is something I don't think most people who are neurotypical do, which is personality segmentation. Did you just think about bipolar disorder? That's not what this is. The main difference is that I'm doing it intentionally on the conscious level of my mind. I'm not doing it it's not something I can't control per se. But I like to separate my different roles as they determine how I act, what I should and shouldn't know, things like that. It's how I used to be bad at keeping secrets. It's how I got good at keeping secrets. My nose is always itchy for some reason. For example, something that I did a lot in Hobbit, if you've seen that on my channel. If I'm the owner of an SMP, but I also play on it, I have 2 distinct roles. So when summoned to a player's base as an owner, as an admin, when playing as a player, I assume that I don't know where their base is, and I sort of parse out how I would have gone about finding their base if I need to get there, if I don't know where it is. It's very weird and not exactly something I can fully say how it works, but that's how I do it. I pretend I don't know where their base is at all. And it's very easy to do for me. Another example is with family, such as my father. Both of us have watched Star Trek together since my birth. So when I got him to watch the last episode of Star Trek Picard, I came to him as his son, wanting to experience that moment with him, watching the last episode with him. I had already watched episode 9, but the last episode was the end of the Jean-Luc Picard era, and I wanted to experience that with him. However, if I give him my laptop and I'm working on and giving him, asking him to fix it, I'm not my primary role in that interaction is not to be his son. It's to be his client. He's fixing a thing for me, which is something I don't think he fully grasped, and I never really explained to him, which is, I didn't talk the same way, I didn't act the same way as I would have if I was still there as his son. And my role can even change mid-interaction depending what it goes on. So once he's done with the thing, my role changes. I say, hey, I love you. It depends. A lot of cases in life, multiple roles will be used at the same time. It makes this way I work. Makes it a lot easier to operate well. As I said earlier, I'm very bad with things that are supposed to be secret or in confidence. But by dividing myself into these roles, I've made it not only a lot longer before spilling the beans, if I spill them at all, but I spill them a lot less than I used to. But there's also a downside to this. Most people don't work this way. It can cause debates or simple and complicated misunderstandings when I try to explain that this is how I work. Because it also affects the way I behave. I can seem more insensitive when in the role of an owner or a manager. Whereas a friend or confidant, I seem a lot more understanding. That look is deceiving though. Both roles, I care just as much. Just, I still have to treat things two different ways. Am I coming to you as a friend, or am I coming to you as your superior? Or to get something done? Am I coming, it's two different ways of handling a situation, two different ways of using it, and going towards it. Another example that happened to me as the owner of one of the SMPs that I've run, two members had a problem. Although enough time had passed, editor, you're going to have to work with me here. After enough time had passed that it warranted an intervention from me as the owner and admin of the server, they were not working out the problem themselves. I stepped in as the owner, not as a friend or anything else, and some of the words I used while coming off that's one for the blooper reel. While coming off insensitive, were actually far from it. While I cannot directly quote at this time, I said something along the lines of, whatever happened is irrelevant to me. I just need you to figure out things between each other and start the process of moving on, since we are such close-knit. And I can see how, from that person's perspective, I would seem incredibly insensitive, but when I said the problem, but I did not say the problem was irrelevant entirely, which is why I say it only came off as insensitive. I was saying and trying to communicate the fact that the problem was not relevant to the fact that the two members of a fairly tight-knit SMP needed to resolve their problems in a hopefully more civilized way. That led to a conflict between me and that person, which had to be mediated by another one of the members, and led to one of those members leaving that SMP. It's not that I was being insensitive, and I'm sure, looking back at what I said, And with this explanation of how I work, the other person would not feel the same way they had felt in that moment. So this goes both ways. Is I didn't really mess up, but the other person did feel that way in the way I handled the situation. And I'm not sure what I could do different. But at the same time, there still has to have been a better way I could have handled that situation to make it seem a lot less insensitive and communicate that I wasn't, and communicate my point a lot better. That would have not led to that conflict. I'm always learning. It was a couple months between the last part of the script that I just said, which a lot of that wasn't actually on the script, and the next parts. In that time, I have found certain completely legal substances. They are not... that will bring my sensitivity to sensual input down to a more normal level. Well, normal for y'all plebs if you are not neurodivergent, which if you're watching me, you probably kind of are. Chances are high. But I don't know the exact chemical makeup of these substances, or really have any idea as to how they are having this effect, so I'm not gonna share exactly what I'm using in those cases. That being said, they are not the only... I don't rely on them. They are not my main technique to control my brain in a different way. They are an add-on that I do not overuse, I do not abuse, as if that substance was actually prescribed by a doctor. For years now, I've remembered nothing from the years under the age of 5, other than very specific memories that were important. But some of them are very cloudy, very modified, very unsure. Occasionally, though, I'll go down what I like to call a memory train and remember something that I had previously lost, only to forget what it was that I had remembered. How does that work? You remembered the thing, you remember how you got to the thing, but you don't remember the thing. I mean, neurotypical people experience the same thing, right? Well, the answer is that my place on the spectrum doesn't help when it comes to memories. Neurotypical people their brains handle memories in a different way that doesn't allow this kind of train. You sort of pop up a memory spontaneously, at least from what I've been told by neurotypical people. But there are two ways that I personally can lose memory. But wait, how do my memories work? I never actually explained that. Think of each memory needing a key. That key, and it can be any number of keys. There can be up to infinite amount of keys that unlock that memory. But each key is either a sensual input, like touching, tasting, smelling, or another memory, which is what creates those trains. Is a sensual input unlocks this memory, which unlocks this memory, which unlocks this memory, which unlocks this memory, and so on and so forth. Most memories can be both. Neurotypical people usually create more loose keys, per se. Those memories can be accessed more easily without the exact requirements being met, which creates more spontaneous remembering. No such luck for me. The first and main way I lose a memory is by losing the key. If I don't experience the proper sense input, or I lose memory in that chain to something, the rest of the memories further down the chain are gone. But the second is more weird. I can lose a memory by having too many conflicting keys. I've seen a lot more online about this since I wrote this script, but this happens to me with complex math more than anything else. Because of the complexity, the amount of equations, I can't ever remember which equation applies to the problem I'm seeing. I remember all of them, which creates an issue where I can't use where I use none of them because I don't know which one's supposed to apply. By the way, guys, this is where my script for this video ends. I'm completely improv now, and I don't have much left to convey. But this is part of the reason why I can remember you from 10 years ago to the day. And we haven't talked in those 10 years, and I will be able to pick up a conversation with you as if we never left it off. Because just seeing you is the sense input I needed to unlock those memories, and now I remember you exist. But for the time that you didn't exist, I might have missed you in the sense that you weren't there and something was missing. But you were out of sight, out of mind, sort of to say. I wasn't constantly reminded of your absence. I just wasn't as happy about it. I just wasn't as happy without that missing piece. I just didn't know what the missing piece was. It's a weird way to convey that how I miss people, but it's the only way I know how at the moment. But one of the things that I've been doing since I ended up dropping out of high school is chilling. I experienced such severe burnout. I was literally in my final semester of school. I had trucked through, pulled myself up by my bootstraps for the whole thing. Like, you know, that thing boomers tell you to do. They're always like, "Oh, just push through it. You'll get through just fine." I had nothing left to give. I had my bootstraps had been pulled up so much they were stretchy and broken, and I needed time to make new ones, I guess would be the best way to say that analogy. Huh. Interesting. And I had to drop out. I had no spoons, if you use that concept, too many forks. I just needed time to heal. And I've started healing. I dropped out last semester. The new semester started in January, and I'm getting my GED within 2 months. Because I'm not pushing it off. If I push it off, it'll never happen. But that is to say, as if you're somehow a neurodiverse child watching me, or you're a teen in high school and experiencing that same problem, don't be afraid to ask for a modified schedule. Make sure it gets in your IEP. Cut the amount of classes you have in that semester down by half and take longer to get through high school. Take that weight off of your back and spread it out. Because so long as you are in high school, there are ways you are supported without having a job. And with an IEP, you can stay in high school for, I think, until you're 21, which buys you 3 more years at minimum. Depending on where you live, of course. Check your local laws and stuff, and talk with your parents if you're a teen about this and you feel like this is a problem for you. But if I had done that 2 years ago, I would not have dropped out of high school. If my grandparents had listened to me about how I was telling them that the way they were helping, the way they were trying to tell me to do things was not working and only making it more of a burden that I could not handle, if they had listened to me 2 years ago, I wouldn't be burnt out. If I had learned more about myself earlier, I wouldn't be in such burnout. there's all these random dominoes, and none of them were in my control because I wasn't introduced to these concepts early enough. And so, does that mean I blame my grandparents for me dropping out of high school? Not entirely. They definitely contributed to it. It's something I can remind them of to try and get them to learn from their mistakes, but I'm not necessarily blaming them for it. But I'm not blaming them. What's the best way to say this? I'm not blaming them for it, but I will not deny their role in it. Is, I guess, the best way to say that. But don't think of it like a pressure. Get a modified day. If you struggle with getting up in the morning, modify it so get a modified day so you come in after lunch and do 2 classes. If you easily wake up in the morning, get a modified day so you leave after lunch, go take a nap. Chill. Recharge your battery, because you don't have infinite fuel to run off of. You don't have an infinite amount of spoons. You have less than someone who is neurotypical. You will struggle more with the mental part of things. It's just because you look physically capable does not mean you are capable. So that's why I'm where I am, and I'm more accepting of the fact that I am where I am. I cannot change. I cannot go back and teach myself concepts. I cannot change my outcome to the present, but I can change my outcome for the future. I can learn from the future. And I'm going to be honest, accepting that, I'm not sure I've fully done it yet. It's one of the hardest things I've started to do. And I'm pretty sure it'll be the hardest thing you try to do as well. But yeah, that's it for this time. You've seen my face, you've gotten my life story. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, ask away. Comments, concerns, even your own life story if you're willing to post that. I would love to hear what everybody... I would love more inputs. I don't feel like there's enough inputs out there because, well, neurodiverse people kind of struggle with putting their input out there sometimes. It's just one of the things. But I guess I'm going to leave this off with my philosophy going forward. I have 2 main philosophies I run with every day. Do better than yesterday. And I usually attach a number to it just because it works better for me. If you don't like numbers, or if numbers overwhelm you, that's fine. But I say do 1% better each day. So long as I do something better every day, I'm the best version of myself for 24 hours, or however you want to conceptualize it. When I wake up, I am a new best version of myself. I go to bed, I wake up, and I do the same. It's not easy, but I'm not doing it all at once, and I'm always improving. I follow the same concepts with my videos. One thing gets better every time. And the second one is... oh God, what is it? Lost it. Do better every day, and... oh, and don't overload yourself. Don't let overcome your biology. Your biology allows other people to overload you, to affect you. And it will be the hardest thing you do in life. It will be the only thing you probably never complete unless we develop technology to live forever. But overcoming your biology or working with it, one of the two. They are different, but they both work. I'm Ben. And now I'm Bowswa. I'm out.